Hello, Shopify fans. Thank you for joining us today, and a huge welcome to our Tailgate party. We hope you are ready for this amazing game day event where 5 companies will join together to prep you for a Shopify win. My name is Betsy Petrovic. I'm the marketing manager here at CQL and today's mascot for your event. We invite you to sit back, enjoy your snacks, shout out questions to our players via the chat, and learn how you can create the perfect play for your commerce ecosystem. Before we kick off, we will have a brief note from today's sponsors. CQL is a digital commerce agency with over 27 years of experience building enterprise-level commerce solutions on industry-leading platforms like Shopify Plus. CQL prides itself on its long-term client partnerships with clients like Hayworth and Wolverine Worldwide partnering for over 20 years. CQL's unparalleled expertise in complicated migrations, brand and UX design, and building multi-site, multi-brand solutions has helped both retailers and manufacturers drive record online revenue, build new channels, and envision world-changing ideas. Shopify is a leading provider of essential internet infrastructure for commerce. Engineered around brand and commerce strategy, Shopify delivers an industry-leading shopping experience for both B2C and B2C clients, trading in those high technical costs and big development teams with speed, flexibility, and team empowerment to engage your customers. With its rapid feature releases and deep technical acumen, Shopify ranks as the world's most scalable, customizable, and reliable commerce platforms. So I ask you, are you ready? Let's cheer on our amazing starting lineup for today, featuring MVP Todd Dreith. He is Footwear Unlimited's Executive Vice President of Marketing and E-commerce. Introducing Ryan Donahue, CQL's Shopify Practice Lead. Thomas Turley, Searchspring's Director of Partnerships. Erica Cui, Yotpo's Product Marketing Manager, and Stephanie Bateman, Gorgias' Strategic Partner Manager. We're also joined by Michelle Dwart from Shopify, who will answer any Shopify questions during today. Can everybody turn your cameras on and say hi? Introducing our starting lineup. All right, so here's the game plan for today. Our kickoff is going to begin with a special interview from MVP Todd Dreith and Ryan Donahue, discussing shifting from a CTO to CMO mentality and getting the executive buy-in. The ball will then be passed to Ryan, who will demo Propel Forward. This is a look inside managing the customer experience and content on CQL's proprietary Shopify framework. Thomas from Searchspring will intercept with a more personalized shopping experience using Searchspring's personalization, search, and merchandising on Propel. Thomas will then make an amazing pass to Erica, who will lead us in building trust and removing barriers to purchasing, showing us how Yotpo's review and UGC integrates on Propel. Finally, Stephanie from Gorgias brings us in for a game-winning touchdown with post-purchase support using Gorgias' chatbots and social media integration on Propel. So joining us for today's Tailgate, we have Ryan Donahue, who's CQL's Shopify Practice Lead, and our headlining MVP, Todd Dreith. Todd has over 30 years experience in the retail industry, both with brick and mortar and online. He has held leadership positions at a variety of retailers, including Saks, Payless Shoe Store, and Amazon. Over his career, Todd has launched and transitioned multiple enterprise sites, both on Shopify and BigCommerce. Currently, in his current role as Executive Vice President of E-commerce and Marketing for Footwear Unlimited, Todd is leading the effort to relaunch the Fry Boot e-commerce site on Shopify. Todd and Ryan, I want to thank you both for speaking with us at today's event. You guys need to unmute yourself.
Absolutely.
Loud.
Absolutely happy to be here.
All right, absolutely. All right. Yeah, you get that run out of the tunnel was pretty exhilarating.
Good. All right. Well, we're excited to have you here. I feel like I should have a microphone to interview you guys. All right. So my first question for your interview is based around the topic for today's discussion. We're shifting from a culture of CTO to a CMO, shifting that mindset. Can we start off by defining what does that mean? Ryan, do you want to start out?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. It's something that we talk about often here at CQL. And really that shift of CTO to CMO mindset is really a mental model change as we talk about it. And it's about shifting focus within the organization. So mainly, historically, the more technically complex your organization is, the more time, money, energy, resources that go towards, tech debt and enhancements and all the things that happen around enterprise complexity. And so when we talk about making the shift from, I guess with the complexity of technology, typically technology is kind of ends up being the focus and the driver of all of those resources and to make your business run. And so we talk about it in the sense of moving and shifting your focus from a CTO mindset into more of a CMO mindset, where really what you're able to do is now get a solid technology framework or foundation and allow yourselves to start positioning your focus on more marketing and revenue driving activities, whether that be conversion rate optimization, focusing more on the branding and the experience of the actual customer experience that you're providing on, pre-purchase, post-purchase, and the actual shopper journey, focusing on your expansions and your new acquisition strategies, and trying to take things to market faster. So speed to market or toying with things like international expansion. So it's really about moving away from, as much customization and back-end development, all those like more technically complex things. And in a world that Shopify is creating, that's a little bit, disrupting the industry right now, of more plug and play and easy to use approaches. With their expansive app ecosystem, we're able to focus our attention on more of the marketing related activities versus, again, those deeper technical and more complex things.
That's a big culture change. So Todd, my next question is going to be for you. Todd, at several companies, you've managed just enterprise level, multi-site, multi-brand e-commerce sites, and really on a variety of platforms from Salesforce, BigCommerce, and Shopify. So based on your experience, can you talk about that culture shift from that CTO mentality to the CMO mentality? More specifically, like what were the challenges when you were in a CTO culture, and what were the goals and what were the benefits that you found from moving to that CMO culture?
Yeah, I think, ultimately, the biggest goal that we all strive for is to, increase sales, drive revenue and, at a profitable rate. So really it's, the goal with any sort of shift. And I think specifically I'm going to talk to, because I am a big Shopify fan. And I think that just, a lot of stuff that Ryan already spoke to about ease of use and so forth are, so critical. But some of the things that, I look at is absolutely the, current GMV and where we want to go with it. And, really looking at, focusing on that customer engagement and how you represent the brand. And as Ryan had related, focusing on that customer experience and the ease of shopping, the total time they spend on site and ease of checkout, and not being worried so much about the technical side of it, and knowing that all that stuff is being taken care of, I think is very, very critical. And then I think also, I'll speak specifically from shifting from a Salesforce Commerce Cloud to a Shopify experience, just the cost savings, hundreds of thousands of dollars there that you can reinvest into talking to the customer, focusing on the merchandise, I think is really, really critical. That's really, I'm an old retailer and always focused on selling goods. And if you can get your team's mind off of just always, maybe what's going to be broken on the site, or, how can I, fix this image by programming, I think is a big shift. In my past, you've always had to have a, programmer or developer on your team. On my current team, I have nobody that knows anything about programming. So I think that's a great shift, taking you from that CTO to that CMO mindset.
That's amazing. So from a development standpoint, do you outsource everything then, Todd, or how do you, so your team is focused on marketing and then everything else is outsourced from a development standpoint, or do you just not use a lot of development?
Well, you know what? I think with Shopify, that's one of the things that, how much, working with the CQL team, and I know that Ryan's going to talk about the Propel theme, just, having those built in already, I think really takes my team's focus off of having to build things and more, what is the message that we want to tell the customer. And then if we do want to make changes and, call audibles, since we're in the tailgate mode of terminology here, then we would lean on CQL to do those types of things.
Wonderful. All right. So my next big question, why Shopify? So, I mean, Todd, this is a great question. Oh, Ryan, go ahead. You want to
Yeah, I
answer?
was just going to add, I guess, before we switch the actual, before we completely switch gears on a different question, it's just like that dynamic, the agency dynamic. Certainly previously being practice lead, I was a client success manager here. So I've worked with our clients across of all of the different platforms that we support. And I can definitely speak to like even the way that we engage with our clients, or way that more so what they bring to us or what they're wanting to engage with us about is far less technical once they're established and that foundation is set with Shopify. Like if Todd may have and team may have new features that they want to add, and they may require development. It's not that the development is going to go away, but the day-to-day conversation is much more focused on the enhancements around marketing and the customer journey and the more strategy-based and acquisition-based conversations. So if you are, on a different platform, you may be working with us for front-end and back-end development and deployments and infrastructure only, and that may be what your budget allows. And just speaking with like how we're working with Todd today, like sure, there's a percentage of it that's technical, but we're doing analytics work, helping with SEO, VPC, like helping in ways that are going to drive revenue. Starting to talk about how do we do personalization and A/B testing and those types of things. Again, all driving that back to what Todd and who he's their CEO care about, which is how much revenue are we driving on the site, not how many tickets did we complete or how many new lines of code were written, right? It's like make the tech invisible, and we're focusing on the more tangible, visible things on the front end to drive that revenue.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think most of us have spent time just focusing on bug list. What's the next sprint that's going to do all these fixes and enhancements versus really just kind of focusing on the marketing and not worrying about all those the technical details to get the enhancements in place. So back to my next big question. So why Shopify? I think, Todd, this was a great one from your experience because you've worked on, 3 really powerful commerce platforms. What do you find are your biggest highlights on Shopify?
Yeah, I think we just keep on going back to the same thing that, I think, one of the greatest things about Shopify is just ease of use. And I truly am a tech Neanderthal when you're using terms like tech stacks and, lines of code. I don't want to hear about it. So it really is. I think using Shopify is something that there is ease of use. Even someone like me, I could go on and do some things on Shopify. I think they have, great online guides and a very powerful and rich vendor community. And I can, you figure out a lot of things on your own because it's so intuitive. I think, as far as, a lot of platforms, there's that one-on-one working with the tech people, but on Shopify, with all the excellent tools that they have, you don't really need it. I think something else that really came into my mind when you were introducing the people that are participating on this call today is just they're just great connections, and I think best of class interactions and relationships with the enterprise apps. If it is, whether it be Yotpo or Gorgias or whoever, it's just something that it just seems like Shopify is really the go-to platform for those companies. It's interesting. I'm having the tremendous luxury of being able to go through just a list of who we want to partner with on the Fry launch right now. And it's just, it's when you're talking to, all the resources out there, it's really the default of Shopify. I do have a BigCommerce site and a Shopify site right now. And it's pretty interesting that, a lot of times when you're talking about the BigCommerce site, that the people on the other side of the line will, be trying to translate from their experience with Shopify to tie it back into BigCommerce. So I think really looking into the future, that's really, there's just so much momentum and such a big wave with Shopify right now that it really makes sense. I think the second thing is being, executives in the companies is at the cost when you look at it and how you can reinvest your money instead of paying for your platform, because it's a relatively low cost of ownership. I think is very attractive. And then finally, I think it is really team size. I've pretty much an evolution over the last 7 years running similar sites on 40% less personnel on my side. And that's, of course, having a great partnership with a back end team like CQL. But if you're out there and you have multiple sites, you can really, using that singular platform and the ease of use and having common themes on the Shopify site, you can really share practices across your different sites. And you can actually have a single person doing the same function on multiple sites, where in the past, that might have been a little bit more difficult, and you would have had to have different people doing the same thing for different sites.
Thank you, Todd. Ryan, are you seeing the same thing across most of the Shopify clients that you work with as well?
Yeah, I was gonna say team size is and the way that the day-to-day site is managed is a really interesting sort of pivot or change management that occurs when you make that change to Shopify. We definitely have seen, this like the product is just very easy to use, and so like there's, depending on how big your team is today, you may be able to have your designers, Todd, I talked about this, of like this site producer type roles. Like, does the designer design the content, and are they actually putting it in the admin and managing some of the page creation through the CMS because it's so easy to use? Or do you have a dedicated site producer role that maybe you didn't have before, that is building out the landing pages and scheduling launches and releases and setting up promotions and things? And it's just I think that the team dynamic, because the product is easier to use, it's easier to hire for as well. And definitely heard that some of the other platforms can be really difficult to find, people technical enough or have enough, have a decade of experience that you can trust them at enterprise level. And the barrier entry is a lot lower with the way that the ease of use of the platform. And also too, I think what you're going to see a little bit here shortly as we show these other platform providers, I'll pick on Thomas for a second, like with Searchspring. If you end up using something like a third-party search and merge, like they have dedicated people on their team for helping training you and making sure that your team knows how to do all the things inside and out. And so it's a product specialist that's available to help you make sure you can optimize search. Sometimes when you're operating more of like an all-in-one, it's hard to find an expert on like, how does this one part of the platform work? So yeah, it's as Todd had mentioned, just seeing it's a breath of fresh air, I think, to an extent for a lot of merchants once they make it on the other side, to see how some of those dynamics with those vendors and how easy it is for your team to manage day to day. It's definitely a big piece. And then, lastly, obviously, COVID was a booming time financially for many e-commerce companies. It also was a very trying time for many as well. And like this total cost of ownership and reducing costs is still kind of something that's been sitting out there for over a year now. And I think that's probably one of the number one driving factors that we're seeing across everyone, all clients that we're talking to, both new and existing, of how to drive more revenue, but also what are the areas that make sense to cut cost. And that's very tightly coupled to the replatform conversation. Just super as black and white as it can be. If Shopify is, $300,000 more annually and base platform costs, how much more revenue can your marketing team drive if you have $300,000 more to spend in your marketing budget next year after you're, migrated and have moved over? Like the ROI on that, return on ad spend, if you will, on that 300K is going to be, amazing and do a lot for your business. So I think that's a very easy one that probably everyone on this call, if you've looked at Shopify at all or you're having that conversation, it's definitely total cost of ownership is top of mind, and figuring out where can you cut. And if you've got a higher revenue fee by a couple percentage points on a different platform, it's could be six figures, multiple six figures of your business you're going to save right off the top.
Yeah, if anyone on this call is interested, Ryan puts together some amazing spreadsheets. And I remember, I think that was one of the first things when I came to CQL, looking at the decks between Todd and Ryan and just looking at the cost savings. I almost thought it was typos. I'm like, are we really talking that many hundreds of thousands of dollars that you can get back? So, I think that's a great, and it makes it much easier. It's a great lead into the next question, Todd, of when you decide to make that shift, from the CTO to CMO culture, how do you get that executive buy-in? I mean, that's a big thing for people to say, we're going to completely replatform our site and, really switch focusing on that technical aspects of our business to really focusing from a marketing perspective. How did you get that buy-in? I'm thinking the financial probably is a huge win to come in and say, look how much we can save, but just in general, what have you experienced?
Yeah, no, I think that the financial is really, is truly the most important thing. I think, in my experience, and it's one a platform shift can be a very expensive thing up front. I just not pulling any punches, and taking it to an executive team and saying it's going to cost whatever from 100,000, maybe 300,000, 400,000, $500,000 to get where you want to get. That's a big number just to throw at your executive team. But I think, really, I think the most important thing is understanding what your company's expectations are, right? Is, what are their plans and what's most important to them. So what I've always done, and like you said, you're looking at spreadsheets that we've done in the past, is, what is that net present value of the future growth that you're going to experience, and really, put the numbers together, and so that your leadership can make that data-driven decision that they need to make of, where's your conversion going to increase because of this, platform switch, with actual numbers that are out there, and then your cost and savings with headcount, the additional revenue that you're going to drive, and then, as Brian had spoken about, is using that dollars that you're going to save, don't just put it into the bank, but reinvest it into marketing to continue growth of the site. So if you look at that horizon of, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, then they really start seeing that, wow, this investment that I'm making now is going to play tremendous benefits. Because it's very interesting that even though I've done this several times now, I mentioned earlier that I have a BigCommerce site. Still, it's a smaller revenue site, but I'm going to use that same principle and flipping my executive team to truly embrace it and know that that's the right way to look at it. And that really is looking, far out in the future. I think the one warning on that I would make is that you have to be realistic in that. You can't promise this guy that, I'm going to be able to run this staff with some site with no people, and I'm going to increase my revenue by 50% and, drive all of it down to the bottom line. That's just not realistic. But I think if you have those great conversations with your leadership teams and giving them the information that they want to have, that you can really, sell the story. I think you just really need to also look at how you can apply it in different circumstances. If you have different sites, include those in there, that maybe it's not all at once, but once you get, one site up, and then, what does the transfer and sharing and knowledge, and also you can leverage some of the developmental things that you do with one site into the next, and then they just become easier and easier as you go along, and you develop that trust with your leadership.
So just out of curiosity, I'm thinking from a technical organization where maybe you really beefed up in a dev group, do you get technical pushback from those, from, like a director of IT, and just saying, what's going to happen to my staff? What's going to happen to all the developers? Like, do those conversations come up?
Well, yeah, so those conversations may come up, right? But I think you really, we're all out there. We're trying to compete. And I think if you rely on some things that, might be antiquated and too costly, it's just, one of those things of showing, once again, going back to the data-driven decision, is that showing the numbers and putting it in front of the team that you've got, and I am by no means a technical person, as I've stressed several times here, but, having the reliance of a good development team, showing that you can outsource some of that stuff that you're currently using internally, I think is always attractive to a CFO or a CEO of a company.
Absolutely. All right, so I've got time for one last question, and then we'll open it up to anyone that has questions, since we've got Todd and Ryan, you both available. So last question, when your company moves to Shopify and embraces that CMO culture, what do you find are the overall benefits? I think both of you guys have touched on it, so maybe just kind of name your top three and just nail home that.
Yeah, well, I know we're running up against the 2-minute warning here, but I think this is where I could go on forever, because Brian knows, and the rest of the people on the CQL team knows that I'm very, very passionate about having a successful website, having a successful online store is all about the marketing and the product. At the end of the day, it is making that customer experience coming into your store as tremendous as possible. Telling the right message to that customer in a tight, efficient manner, making that journey once they walk into your store digitally to when they check out a very enjoyable experience. And I think having the right product at the right time at the right place is just so important. And so I think a lot of times people that run their sites, they get so tied up into the technicality piece of it, and having a CTO mindset just really gets you more bogged down into how is my site performing, as opposed to what is that customer's experience and how are they enjoying themselves as they're shopping on the site and they're buying the goods that we're providing for them. It really helps my team focus more on those types of experiences as opposed to the technical side of it.
Ryan, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that I touched on this a little bit before, but I'll say it a different way. Like at CQL, it was this sort of 3-columned methodology, if you will, or progression life cycle of a site. And really on the far left, we go, stabilize, optimize, and innovate. And stabilization is usually where most of the tech time is spent. So I think the largest benefit is, and what we see with our clients that are on Shopify or make the move to Shopify, is they get out of stabilization faster to move into optimization and innovation. And that's where the fun happens. That's where the revenue happens. That's where that's where the innovating to set your brand apart from others really occurs. And so that's if I had to be short on this, I think that is, in summation, the large benefit that we're seeing, and it's where a lot of the excitement comes from.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to share my screen really quick just to kind of do a recap here of what we've talked about. And I'd like to just take a few minutes if anyone has any questions. Thank you, Todd, and thank you, Ryan, for a really interesting discussion of kind of behind the scenes, what goes on in your company and that shift. So if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to use that chat or that Q&A function. And we'll see if we can challenge Todd and Ryan here. All right, it looks like we had the technical, kind of a follow-up to the technical question. It was when you reallocate your team, do you hire more people to do that marketing work, Todd? Since you can now reallocate your budget, do you seem to have more availability with that budget to hire on additional marketing resources to help grow once you're kind of in that optimization phase?
Yeah, I think so. I know that's a great question, because and it is, one of the challenges that you do face are some of the people that have a more technical role, they kind of become disillusioned, and some people are not able to shift into that new mindset. So you'll eliminate them, but I think also sometimes they'll just migrate away from that type of mindset. But you're exactly right. I think a lot of times I have in the past relied on agencies a little bit too much on the marketing side of it. And then, if you have the ability to over-index on the marketing side, I think that's a great opportunity, both within, emails and SMS and development and planning and sending of those. And then also really having someone that can have a deep and rich technical expertise and understanding of performance marketing, because that's always, two areas that I think sites can always improve on. How do you improve the the amount of traffic and acquisition coming to your site, as well as the quality of it. So you're absolutely right. I think in the past, probably my teams have been, had leaned more heavily into the programming and site development, and then now much more into the marketing and creative and acquisition piece.
That's a really cool transition. Well, I want to thank you both, Todd, Ryan. What a great discussion. Thank you for joining us today.
Right. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so at this time, we're going to hand the ball off to Ryan, who is going to share some strategies for a Shopify win. He's going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at CQL's proprietary Shopify framework, which many of you heard about. It's called Propel. So Ryan, I'm going to let you take it away.
All right, get all this stuff in order here. Share this window. You guys should all be able to see. We're in the Shopify admin, and if you have not seen it before, I can tell you that it is quite easy to use. As Todd the Neanderthal had mentioned, of how easy it is without even being technically savvy. But one of the things we very commonly hear from our clients is how easy their admin is, and there's a lot of other platforms out there that look a little bit more antiquated and take a little bit more time to get ramped up on and learning how to use all the different parts and pieces. Today, what we're going to focus on, Betsy has talked about it, this Propel framework that we have, and this network of solutions that we're going to kind of take you through a shopper's journey, a little bit from the perspective of the roles on your team as it relates to managing the Shopify storefront. So I'm going to talk a little bit or spend most of my time talking about the CMS side of things and how you would manage landing pages or content on the front end of the site, and how the theme editor works, the CMS works on Shopify. And then we're going to hand it off to some others that'll talk about different parts of that shopper journey, and some of the more enterprise and advanced functionality here. So what you're seeing here is the online store sales channel and the theme, which is ultimately the front end experience. It's the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, the things that your customers are going to interact with. But I'm going to go ahead and customize this live production theme. So just some housekeeping notes here. We do have a few different things here. Maybe most notably or kind of fun is that they have the ability to preview right here in the admin before anything goes live, that you have both desktop, mobile, and full screen capabilities to preview your content as it gets managed in the admin on different devices right in the CMS, which is pretty slick as you're planning out, mobile first content, as well as making sure things are looking good on desktop. There are, in this drop down here at the top, we have different page types or object types within the system that you can manage. One of the largest updates to their CMS editor was what they call Content Everywhere, or you might hear it referred to as a 2.0 editor. It's been out for, I think, almost 2 years now, so it's not that new, but it did come with a lot of really great functionality. So you can see within here that you can look at a product, and you can see that I have different templates for the product. And we'll get into that in a minute of how that can be displayed and how that's managed. You got collections, which are your PLPs in Shopify terminology, groups of products, and then pages, which can ultimately be anything here. So we've got a custom page template for FAQs, custom one for customer service, about us, contact us. There's even a little style guide, global style guide page that we built out to help align the creative team and the dev team that we include in all of our builds. It's not really customer facing, but it is something that we built out in the framework to help everyone align on your digital brand styles. So there's also blogs, blog posts, cards checkout, and then there's some other page types in here. So a lot of different page templates that can be leveraged in the same way that I'm about to show on the home page as a kind of easy example here. So as a site producer, as a marketer coming in and wanting to make changes to the site, we have some global changes that happen here. So things like in the header, we go to full screen here really quick. This is a mega menu that we've built out here. You can see that there's different imagery that's added that links out to different promotions, like 20% off all jackets or free shipping on orders. Look at our accessories here. So you can see that there's definitely differences visually in how this looks, and it is in fact the mega menu. That's a global element. If we scroll down here to the bottom, just show you our footer here, right? Obviously, footer element is a global element as well. And so we come back to desktop view here, that these are your global changes that can be set site-wide. As we scroll down here, we have below this horizontal line, we have global elements for the footer. Things like if I click on shop here, defining what is the actual menu system that's defined here, we're pulling in a shop menu. These are your global elements. But the meat or the fun part of this on the day-to-day is going to be managing all of these sections in here. Relatively new update, they have this inspector tool, which is kind of nice. You can grab or click on a certain section, and upon clicking it, will actually open all of the configuration that is available to modify that particular section. So this image banner here, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is obviously, if you've looked into Shopify at all, there are obviously themes you can go out and buy for $180, $300, and you've got a theme, right? You've got a set of code base. Really what we've done is across of doing 20 to 30 different platforms on Shopify at this point, leveraging the expertise of our internal teams and really building out our own proprietary Propel framework that we build on for all of our projects. This allows us to have a lot of efficiencies in the work we do, as well as if a client wants to do a super custom pricing table, and in the future your team wants to do a pricing table. There is, let's call it the 80-20 rule, where there's certain things we can leverage, or there might be things that are already built in that you can leverage day one without us ever having to create custom for you. And so this image banner section is a really great example of that. There's different versions or modifications of this, but what we've done is we've built in a lot of mobile layout and alignment, a lot of different features here on this section and this content that you're just not going to get on, on some off-the-shelf theme. Where what we're trying to do is account for best practice here, multiple break points, things like providing a separate mobile image here you can see that can be swapped out, and as well as previewed to manage that content. So the section itself also contains underneath it blocks. Each of these blocks can also have their own heading or different settings, headings. So if we look at this headline or heading block here, we can see that we can live change our Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale is, oops, if I can type here, is on. We can even change right on the fly, the styling of this heading. And these headline styles are all, this won't look great, but let's pull in extra small here. These are all grabbing the global styles, the things that have already been agreed upon and defined, to help make sure the brand is consistent as well. So, and we're giving ourselves a color picker here. So we can change all this content on the fly, very easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and make this content bold, make this italicized. And you can see that it's all very easy, point and click, something that you do not have to write code for. And where the development really comes into play here is allowing the marketers to envision, what do I want to be able to do on the site? What are the different levers that we want to pull through point and clicks? And developers can go ahead and get that, section created and available. And once it's built, it's available site-wide. So if we scroll down here, you can see that there are a lot of different sections, like image with text here. So this is like a 50-50 split. There's another 50-50 right here. Above, as we scroll down, the video section, this is just a general content. We have, we'll talk about this in a little bit here, Yotpo, UGC, and custom Instagram feed is pulling in content here. But if we can add a section on any page on the site, and you can see there's, I think at this point, we're at 30 different section types that are built out here. And all of these different sections can have different use cases and purposes across the site on how you want to see these used. I'm going to go ahead and take us to PLP to kind of expand on that here a little bit. So if we go to, let's go in and go to bikes, we'll go to Ronin City Bikes. I'm going to go ahead and click on this Milano here. So now you can see that we're looking at an actual page template for products, and it is the default page template. As you can see, that's selected here, and this template is applied across 48 different products. This is where it gets pretty interesting and pretty fun to use dynamic content across the site. So when you think about dynamic content, you have things like your product title. If I go to any product page, it's going to be different. If I go ahead and click on this, I can look at the Aero D Max preview, and you can see that title has changed because I'm previewing that product instead. So I'm going to go back to the Milano here. Within the editor, and if you're previewing certain templates, you can actually specify what pages you want to work on and which pages you want to check out content for. Just to highlight some of the really cool configurations here that are available is, what if we don't want to show color swatches anymore? Maybe we want to change the styling of this to be buttons. And it will take a second to refresh. You can see this green bar here will load, but you can see without touching code at all, I've actually changed how this PDP functions. But we actually like the color swatches quite a bit. So I'm going to pull us back in here to the default state for those, because those are pretty nice. For the feature description here, you can see that this was a text block that was added, but we actually have a dynamic data source. You can see that there's not any content that's actually written here because it's not a fixed value. What it's going to do is on every PDP, this is going to pull in the content that you've been managed either in Shopify directly or in your PIM has been merged over, and will sync to this field dynamically across the fields. And we can set up really cool rules like don't display feature description at all from a layout standpoint if no content exists. If content exists, then go ahead and display that content. So a very powerful tool, a lot of really neat things that you can do with that. Just to kind of on the fly show an example, if we wanted to add a new block here, we can do, if you have developers on the staff, you can add a custom liquid block, and you actually could write code in the editor to support that. I'm going to add a collapsible tab here, and we'll call it, new cool tab. And then grab a dynamic data source here. I'm going to just kind of randomly grab one here to throw in. And you can see that this is just floating here down the bottom. Well, that doesn't look super great. I really would like that to, well, you can see too that this dynamic content has already populated in here for this product because there is data on that meta field. We can actually grab and drag this to be above product overview if we'd like. And so without touching any code whatsoever, we can actually affect the layout as well and the order of how this page is displayed. I don't like it there. I'm going to pull it down and go one more and make that last. So the cool tab will be the third one down in the list there. And right there, you can preview the animation. This is a JavaScript-based, accordions that you can click, preview, even test your different dynamic sources right here in the editor before any of this is shown to your clients or your customers. Sorry. So just scrolling down here, you can see that there's some really neat hover sections. And again, this is all catered for this bicycle store, right? So you might have a pricing and a spec, maybe something more technical like a bike, or you sell laptops, you want to show pricing table. We can create, work through the design and the UX and figure out what does your team need to have on these PDPs to build a wonderful customer experience, leverage dev resources to flush that out and get that working the way you want. And then from there, you have marketers, content site producers, people that can leverage that information. So, and manage it on a day-to-day basis without having to do code deployments and work through those things. So this is a pretty long page, a lot of different content being displayed here. We have some really nice UGC and reviews, as well as questions that we'll get to here in a minute. With Erica, and yeah, I think that that is a really good overview to showcase. There are a lot of really other cool things that I'd love to show with more time at a later date. But I think this gives a really nice preview of the effectiveness of this editor and how you can really do some really amazing things with Shopify's content management system. It is definitely an area that they shine. So with that, I will have it up here. I'm going to pivot to a different part of the shopping experience. So I've kind of shown how to manage your overall structure from a layout standpoint with your homepage and managing that content, making your way to something like a product page and optimizing that enhanced content for a PDP. Love to pass the mic to talk about how to personalize the shopping experience and do some really neat things with rank and boost and synonym rules through search and merchandising. So pivoting this over to Thomas with Searchspring to take it away, Thomas.
Perfect. Thank you, Ryan. So let me do the thing that everybody does as well. Everybody can see my screen, I hope. So as Ryan mentioned, Searchspring's worked with CQL and on the Propel theme for a long time, and we've worked with Shopify a lot for a long time as well. And what Searchspring is and how we define personalizing that customer experience across the site really comes down to 3 different portions, which I'll go over today in more detail. The first and foremost is the site search, and what that means to make sure that you're given a frictionless and relevant journey to those customers that are interacting with the search bar, how you get them to those products, that type of stuff. The second is the merchandising. The merchandising in terms of allowing those teams internally to control what products are shown, maybe what products are not shown, and in what manner they're shown as well. And then thirdly, the true kind of buzzword and the thing that everyone is trying to do with their sites, and that's easily accomplishable with Shopify and with Searchspring is then the personalization element. How do we learn from those interactions from customers? How do we optimize to those customers in a very automated fashion without having to have any manual input? And that's really what Searchspring does with its personalization. Similarly to Shopify, similarly to Propel, and kind of hammering on the concept that was talked about earlier with Todd and Ryan, is Searchspring is also built with this CTO to CMO approach in mind. While there's a lot of code and a lot of power behind it, the Searchspring tool is built to be very intuitive and very powerful to hand back that power to the business teams, so that there is no code in terms of the day-to-day management. When you want to adjust search, when you want to see what's going on, all of that type of stuff is done very easily through point and click, which I'll go through in a little bit. So we'll start with the site search. Site search, realistically, the idea with site search is whenever somebody is on your site and they're searching, they're much more geared to buy. They know what they want roughly. The idea is get them to the product in as little clicks as possible, in as quick a manner as possible. And so when we think about search with Searchspring, the idea is it should be powerful, it should be quick, but most importantly, it should be relevant. So what Searchspring does, and when we talk about search, it can start from the initial load of an autocomplete. So as you start typing in things, you get this suggested products come back. And as you start to type in more keystrokes, it starts to understand what you're trying to type for. And then when you actually get to the search results page, how we get them to the right products, making sure that when people search bikes, we're getting them to bikes. We're not getting them to bike helmets. We're not getting them to bike pumps. We're just getting them to bikes. And what Searchspring does is it has a bunch of built-in algorithms and relevancy built into the system, where it looks at something called product typing. So it looks at the kind of naming conventions of your products, the naming conventions of your data. It looks at the data structure, where things are positioned, to make sure that products are getting surfaced relevantly based on the search type. Obviously, bike is a pretty broad term, but obviously if we go into bikes, it also understands that as we cite for bicycle, if you're English and more old-fashioned like me, you're still going to get the same products. It understands that bicycle is the same thing. Even with different naming conventions, you want to make sure that by common sense, like a dress shirt and a shirt dress is a completely different product. A dresser mirror compared to a dresser with a mirror, those slight nuances create very different types of product. And when people are using your search, you want to make sure that they're getting to the right product at the right time. And that's what Searchspring takes care of. The idea is it allows for a really enhanced search experience without the need for your teams to manually be interacting with it and intervening with it. While it does give you the tools to tweak and change, the idea is that it should be leveraging that data. It should be leveraging those relevancy algorithms to make sure that we're creating a frictionless experience, make sure we're getting people to the right product at the right time, and that your teams can concentrate on what's more important to you. And really optimizing the business, again, with what was said earlier, concentrate more on that optimization point rather than that stabilization point. Additionally, with search and what comes with Searchspring, there is the filtering portion of things. Sorry, I've got a little bit there. So the filtering is leveraging all of that data in Searchspring. So Ryan showed you through some variant information that stores in products. There's always collections or category information, the stuff that's really important to your customers, so that when they are on the site and when they are leveraging, when they are searching for something very kind of broad like bikes, and there's 25 bikes, okay, I know what kind of bike I want to use now. The bike, I'm a pro, so I want to use the pro level, and I want a medium size frame. Immediately that gets me down to the one perfect product for me in 2 clicks. I can then go into the product, buy the product, check out, and I'm a happy customer. It's been a frictionless experience. It's been an easy experience, and that's really what Searchspring aims to do out of the box with its search. And that's the search in general. That's what you're going to have basically going on all the time without you having to manually oversee all of it, without you having to manually intervene all the time within your search. And it's all neatly wrapped in the Propel theme, so it's very easy. In terms of UX, it's all styled and brand centric as well. From there, the next portion is really the merchandising portion. This is where Searchspring really comes into its own, and again really hammers home on that CTO to CMO standpoint, in the fact that marketing teams, e-commerce teams are going to always want to have influence over how products are surfaced, whether it's specific products, whether it's based on a rule set, whether it's based on a marketing calendar or an initiative. We obviously know Black Friday, Cyber Monday's coming up. You've then got the holiday period. You've got then seasonal sales and seasonal initiatives. And you want to be able to have that quick control without having to jump into code, without having to make adjustments that way. And so Searchspring has the ability to then give merchants the control back, those teams the control back, to very easily merchandise on a variety of different levels. It can be globally in terms of what are the guiding lights behind our store. It could be on a specific collection or category page. It could be on a specific type of search. For the sake of this, we are going to merchandise this page, or we have been merchandising this page, which is a collection page. And we can go into it here. It's kind of a here's what I did earlier type deal. But you can see the interface here. The interface is the same regardless of if you're interacting with search, if you're interacting with global or segmented. And Searchspring allows you to take control over how those products are arranged. So previously, when I spoke to Ryan, Milano's their biggest bike on this store. They always want to give it prime position in any of the bike collections. They want to give it prime position in the search. So what you can do is you can click and drag, you can pin products in order. And so this is always pinned in the #1 spot. But then there's always going to be the idea of, again, you want to automate things, you want to make it easy, you want your website to honor your business rules or to honor your marketing schedule. And so Searchspring allows you to leverage all of this data that we're pulling in from Shopify routinely in the background, again, without any code or necessarily technical goings on happening. There may be additional information that's being fed in from a PIM, and Searchspring also creates some performance fields that allows you then to create some rules based on how you want this collection to look, for example. So we may decide that as a brand, as a vendor, Propel's the most important brand to us. That should always be given preference in this collection. As we add new Propel products, as potentially new brands get moved in, we always want to give the preference towards the brand Propel. And we have some day since published information. We want to make sure that products that are less than or more than 100 days old actually or 210 days old, get a little bit more love. They're aging stock in the warehouse. They may be just something that you're running low on, so you want to promote these products that way. So you can see as easily as that, you can create these flows and these automations that will then honor your data. So as that day's published turns to 211 days old, it will start to promote that one product or that individual product within that collection, still honoring your business logic. As potentially, like I said, brands change or you add new brands in, it's still honoring that automation while also using that Searchspring relevancy to make sure that it's only boosting relevant products if you're doing this on a search or if you're doing this on a global campaign. There's a bunch of other information you can do or a bunch of other things you can do. And again, very easy, very quick to use. You can schedule all this out. So when we talk about making sure that it is aligned with your specific marketing calendar or campaign, you can front load these campaigns. It may be promoting products that are on sale just until the end of November when the Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale finishes. It may be promoting over a month span or in line with some email campaigns. Can be very easily done. You can also use more advanced stuff. You can leverage things like within the boosting rules, we have a tie-in with Yotpo, who you'll hear about later. You could leverage that to tell the system always promote products that are above 3 stars in a rating. So as those ratings dynamically change, it's always reflecting what the customers are saying about your products and which ones are most popular. You can also use contextual information. So if you're driving traffic from elsewhere and you're tagging customers based on a specific segment, or even if they're using something like a Gorgias and there's some contextual segments that you're using, you can pass that to Searchspring and merchandise separately based on that, so that you can have different strategies. They can be dynamic based on the page, based on the person, without you, again, having to write custom script, without you having to dive into every page. Searchspring allows you to have that control really quickly and really easily. You can then override filters and things like that. The one last thing I'll touch on here is there's always going to be a need for testing and a want for testing, especially as marketers. I think you guys love A/B testing. Searchspring allows you directly within the platform to test different variations, A, B, C, D, E variations of Searchspring. That may be testing Searchspring natively against your boosted logic, with some inline content and some banners, which I'll show you. It may be testing Searchspring's personalized search results and personalized collection results over your boosted logic. Searchspring, and I'll get into the personalization a little bit later, but the personalization also ties into the search and collection pages. The last thing you can do, again, this is often something on a legacy platform or a different platform that's very difficult to do, in terms of you want to make a quick on the fly change, or you want to update the way a specific page looks. It might be a specific collection, it may be a specific search type. You want to update the banners and be more targeted, but that requires front-end code change. With Searchspring, that's not the case. So if we go into a separate collection here and we go to our rider gear and apparel, we have been able to adjust the merchandising and the banners in Searchspring very quickly, very easily. Ryan very gracefully provided me some nice mock-ups here that we've already put in. But Searchspring within a banner, you can basically tell the system where you want it. So do I want it in a primary spot? Do I want it in a secondary spot? Do I want it in line with content? And if you are code friendly, you can use HTML. If you're not code friendly, you can just give it an image link and a target URL and it will do the same job. Or you can put a video link in, and immediately then on this specific page, we now have different messaging. We have this Black Friday, Cyber Monday code. We have this header banner here, and we have this footer banner here specifically for this page because we specifically assigned it to this collection. Again, this allows you to get more personalized, get more segmented, and get more out of Searchspring without having to leverage a bunch of development resources. The final part of this, again, all of this relates to personalization, but as personalization as we see it at Searchspring is how are we then learning from each individual user on the site, what they're doing in the session, what they've previously bought, what they may have in their cart, and being able to adapt on the fly without you, again, having to manually set a whole bunch of stuff. And so Searchspring has personalization. That personalization surfaces itself in a variety of ways. The one way Ryan showed you earlier, or you may have seen earlier, is through PDP style recommendation carousels that live in here, and it's based on what you're looking at and showing you some relevant cross-sell opportunities. If you go onto the homepage, you'll also notice some top-rated off-road bikes, some top-rated sellers. So these can be as personalized or as non-personalized as you like. And again, the setup and the way to do that within Searchspring is very easy. You can set up these profiles. We have predefined page placements where they're most likely to be. We then have predefined profiles that you can have. So do we want this just to be a cart cross-sell based on the items in the cart? Do we want to look at what's regularly bought with that product and offer those? Do we want to use really, really personalized, tailored recommendations? Do we want to base that based on the individual shopper's personal shopping history, their order history, what they've previously bought from us? Or do we want to adapt on the fly to what their session behavior is, what they've been clicking on recently, what they've come back to view, and offer up those suggestions in various places? Again, these can be created very quickly, very easily. Once you create them, it will basically give it a profile name. That profile name can then be used in the Propel template editor, and you can place them on your site. They can also be tied in with email recommendations. So if you're using an email service provider, you can then create widgets that then go into your templates for order confirmation emails, for welcome notices, for abandoned cart emails, to leverage that personalization, what you've learned about that customer, to then tie in off-site. And like I said, Searchspring, what goes on in the background, I think the important thing with personalization is always people want to personalize the site. People shopping the site don't want to know outwardly that they're being personalized toward. And so what Searchspring does in the background is also leverage that personalization to optimize the collection pages and the search results again. So as it's learning brand preferences, style preferences, what you've purchased before, it will alter those, the merchandising again, dynamically to that individual user. But it will still honor that merchandising logic that you set within the Searchspring console. So it will honor those business rules, and then it will personalize within them, and it will just continuously get better and learn more as Searchspring is on the site, and as it works with Propel, and as it works with Shopify and the information it's feeding. There's ways that it becomes more personalized. The shopper experience, the customer experience becomes way better, and you haven't had to touch a line of code to do it. That sums up Searchspring. I think I'm just about on the 15, 16 mark, so I think that was good for me. I will hand this back over.
All right, thanks, Thomas. Appreciate you walking through that. Certainly, as I teed up the conversation, it probably didn't fully do justice of the amount of, sorry, got my video here. We have had the opportunity at CQL to work with a lot of different search merchandising vendors, and Shopify has native search as well, and that can be used, but we've just seen a lot of success with Searchspring, and that's why we kind of chosen to integrate it into our framework and have it be kind of a go-to for us in our build approach. That obviously was a pretty quick preview, but a lot of really powerful things that can be done on that platform. A lot of really, really powerful features that help your merchandisers drive more revenue and provide a more personalized shopping experience. Next, we'll kind of move away from, we kind of talked about homepage, we're going to talk about PLPs and getting product in front of people, and then also how to manage and curate more content on the PDP. Now let's shift over to Erica here at Yotpo and talk about how we can build trust and remove barriers to purchase. So kind of two lenses of not only your net new customers that you're trying to acquire, but also how can we leverage Yotpo to actually win back and leverage those customers that did purchase to help build trust with the other new customers that you're trying to acquire. Similar to Searchspring, there's a lot of vendors that provide that compete with Yotpo, and we really truly think that they are best in class, especially for any size merchant, but for enterprise and doing more robust end-to-end solutioning. Just to give kind of an anecdotal, some of the success that we've seen, we have a client that has had an e-commerce site for probably a decade and had roughly 4,000 reviews. This was maybe 3 years ago. They are currently, by leveraging Yotpo's automated platform for capturing review emails and getting more reviews in, they're averaging over 10,000 reviews annually. They were at 4,000 when they started. They're I think pushing 35,000 total reviews today in like a 3-year span. And so they've had tremendous success on that platform, and again, why we've kind of selected them in this framework and why they're here today. So Erica, I will pass it over and to you to kind of dive into what you have to offer.
Thanks, Ryan. I'll go ahead and share my screen as well. That was an amazing intro. Thank you so much. So just as a recap for everyone, my name is Erica. I'm the product marketing manager for reviews at Yotpo, which is all about generating authentic reviews and displaying them where they're most impactful to help customers build trust and remove barriers to purchase. Before we dive into reviews, I just wanted to touch on the fact that Yotpo is actually an e-commerce retention platform. So aside from reviews, we also offer SMS, loyalty, subscriptions, and visual UGC as solutions that all work together to create a really seamless customer experience. So you'll see, I'll try to touch on a few of these and how reviews kind of streamlines into all of these different solutions throughout the demo. But just wanted to make that quick call out. So when we think about reviews, we think about three main value pillars. So those are helping brands build authenticity, which is a key part of building trust, inspiring discovery, and amplifying the customer voice through showcasing social proof. So a lot of people think about reviews as an engagement strategy to help drive conversions by showcasing social proof on your site. And that's definitely one way to drive revenue and grow sales. But reviews actually plays a huge role from discovery to retention. For example, when people are stumbling across your site in the first place, reviews are really the key way to help you stand out from competitors and use your ratings and reviews in like Google Ads and listings. And then after a customer makes a purchase, there are ways to reach out and encourage re-engagement along the way as well. So I just wanted to give one more quick proof point. Ryan gave that anecdotal evidence of a brand who's been using Yotpo. Also want to call out Princess Polly, who is an Australian clothing wear brand. They saw almost a 500% increase in conversion rates after customers engaged with an on-site Yotpo widget versus customers who weren't engaging. They saw their average order value increase by 112% after implementing Yotpo, and they currently have more than 300,000 reviews. So really a reviews behemoth and great example of someone who's been really optimizing the value of reviews. So if we dive into our lovely Milano PDP, I'm going to back up a little bit to talk about how Yotpo functions from a pre-purchase perspective, because that really ties into the post-purchase experience. So when shoppers visit Propel and they're looking at this product, they're going to see the star ratings widget first, which kind of gives a summary of how other shoppers have thought about this product. And if you click on this, it'll take you down to the main reviews widget that we see at the bottom here. And so a lot of brands will focus on getting a large quantity of reviews. And this is really important because we conducted a recent consumer survey and saw that approximately 85% of shoppers prefer to see products that have 50 to 500 reviews before they even consider purchasing the item. But it's also really important to have a sophisticated widget that allows for filtering and searching, because as a consumer, it's really important to be able to parse through all of those reviews to find the right information to make the purchase. So as a consumer, you can see that we have a sorting filter on the right-hand side. And this is kind of like a really simple filter that will help you filter for like highest ratings, lowest ratings, etc. But when it comes to the more sophisticated features, if I, for example, was a person who was like new to biking, which I definitely am, and I'm searching for my first bike, let's say I wanted to look at the quality of the bike because I want a bike that's going to last me maybe 5 or 10 years, not just 1 year. So if I clicked on the smart filter, that would in theory show me all of the reviews that have quality mentioned in the review. So I can kind of focus on those reviews. If we look at the filters below the smart filters, you'll see these drop downs. So again, similar to sorting, it's a way to customize, like maybe I want to look at all the 1-star reviews to see if there are any red flags. Maybe I want to look for reviews with images and videos to see what this bike actually looks like in real life. But the most important ones that I want to focus on are the custom question filters. So there's 55 reviews, which is amazing, but I don't have time to personally read through all of those. So I want to see people who've left reviews who are similar height, similar age. I don't know what kind of frame I want, but I know that I'm a beginner. So that takes the 55 reviews that are on the page down to just 5. These are really relevant reviews to me that will have hopefully the information that will give me the confidence to purchase confidently. Another point that I want to point out is our Q&A functionality. So this is the ability for shoppers to leave a question. And so for me, as someone who's just browsing Propel, looking for a potential bike, maybe I don't know the difference between a road bike and a mountain bike, but Jane has already asked this question for me. Warren has provided a really helpful answer. So I'm not having to like click away from the page to figure out which bike I want. It's already right here for me. And as an added bonus, we have verified reviewer and verified buyer badges. So that gives the shopper even more confidence that these people have had experience with the bike. They know what they're talking about. So all of the information in this stage of the customer journey is generated by the post-purchase process, because that's where we need to be asking these questions, asking very definitive questions about the fit, how people made the purchase. And so by adding custom questions in the review request, we can ask people to share information like their height or their expertise, which then feeds back to the filters on this page and creates a really circular process between the post-purchase, circling back and helping shoppers build trust and create more confidence in the pre-purchase process. So before I show you how this all connects on the back end, I just want to point out a couple more features. So Thomas was just talking about this widget right here. So as a shopper, I'm looking for a bike, but this jogs my memory. Oh yeah, I need to buy shoes as well. And so with Yotpo, we can use the reviews and star ratings to surface the most popular or most highly rated products in widgets like this. As Thomas pointed out, there's a lot of other ways that we integrate with Searchspring to help surface those. And then if we look below the main reviews widget, you'll see this Instagram gallery that is pulled directly from Instagram and just kind of pasted onto your page. And so one thing I want to point out here is with our visual UGC gallery, this is a great way to showcase what the products actually look like in real life. And you can even make them shoppable. So if someone's browsing on Instagram, they can see, oh, like here's the shoppable link, go directly to your site. But you, of course, have like the beautiful hero images at the top of your page, but often shoppers want to see what does this item look like organically in real life. This kind of gives them like a aspirational, here's what my life could look like if I bought this product. And then as a bonus with our visual UGC site, there's a way to pull in content that shoppers are creating, like these people might be out in the wild taking pictures, tagging Propel, hashtagging Propel. And so you can automatically send them a request to use their content in your feed. And so that has the dual benefit of showing this product in its organic kind of like state, as well as reducing the work for your team, because for every piece of content that you're pulling in that's user generated, that's one less piece of content that your team has to generate themselves. All right, so now we can switch over to the back end. So here's where we're going to see how everything kind of connects to the front end. So after a customer makes a purchase, they can leave a review in a few different ways. So that's either via an email review request, an SMS review request, or they can also leave a request via the on-site widget directly on your product detail page. So the first thing that I want to point out with the email review request, which is what we'll mainly focus on, is that you can trigger review requests based on X days after purchase. We're currently working on a functionality to trigger a review request based on delivery. So what better time to ask for a review request than when a customer has that bike in hand, they've like taken it for a spin around the block, they have a lot to say about it. That's when you want to trigger the review requests for the highest overall rates in terms of responses. Also wanted to share, I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but we also found in our survey that shoppers are almost 70% more likely to leave a review if an email looks like it was customized or came from a specific brand rather than a generic review request. So as you can see, this review request example here is extremely generic, but we just are in a beta right now to completely redo our email editor with a very easy drag and drop interface that allows you to simply drag components from the left side and customize your email template. We also have an email template library with professionally designed templates. So very easy to use one of these beautifully designed templates, make it look like your own, customize it with your logo and your colors to increase your overall review response rates. Next, I want to jump to custom questions. So we saw what they look like on the front end. On the back end, it's really easy to create new custom questions, and they'll display kind of in like a survey format on the actual review request. So as you can see, when you're sending customers an email, they can input their star ratings, their actual review, and then the custom questions will follow in a very like short survey format. We recommend that people don't generally put more than like 5 to 7. So it's really important to think about what are the key pieces of information that we want to display on site so that shoppers can relate and build trust as they're shopping for different products. But then also, what information can you collect here to create more of a holistic customer profile? Because when you start dovetailing in other strategies like loyalty or SMS, having these data points allows you to create a really personalized experience and offers for different customers. I'll also point out coupons. So when thinking about how do we get more reviews, incentivizing customers via coupons is a great way to do that. So you're able to incentivize customers to leave reviews. I guess coupons don't want to show up today, but basically being able to give customers like 10% off by leaving a review or a photo review or a video review. Smart prompts is another way that you can think about as a way to create higher quality reviews. So yes, you want a lot of reviews, but if you're getting reviews like great product, like works well, that's not really giving you the detail, or any shoppers the detail that they will need to build trust with your brand and make a confident purchasing decision. So with smart prompts, we generate 3 high converting topics that come up that are generated from mentions in past reviews. And basically we gamify the experience so that when shoppers are leaving a review on a landing page, as they're typing, like shipping will light up or quality will light up when they mention those high converting topics. And so this is a great way to encourage shoppers to leave not only detailed reviews, but reviews that are really relevant to other topics that customers have talked about in past reviews. I think we found a stat that 51% of shoppers find writing prompts helpful when they're writing a product review, as it allows them to remember the key features that they enjoyed or didn't enjoy. There's also an element of Q&A that comes in post-purchase. So if you recall on our Q&A widget on the front end, you saw that Warren B was a verified buyer. So if a customer has already made a purchase, you can send them a request to submit an answer for a question that another shopper has asked. So this not only provides you with a valuable answer that like your own support team doesn't have to answer, but it also engages the customer who responded. So potentially bringing Warren back to browse your site and potentially make another purchase. So from here, I will jump to moderation. So making moderation easy is key to a strong reviews program. So we try to make it as easy as possible for merchants to be able to sort through and respond to reviews. So I want to focus on the moderation filters. I'll just show you a few highlights. For example, filtering by the date range or filtering by product. Let's say you just launched a new bike and you want to see what the sales look like in, or what the reviews look like in June for a specific bike. You could filter like that. One of the most popular use cases that we see is filtering by star rating. So a common use case for marketing is looking at all the 5-star reviews, for example. With Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming up, maybe you want to look for all of the 5-star reviews for a certain product to be able to use those in email campaigns, different marketing campaigns. For customer service, a common use case is to filter by all of the 1-star reviews so that they can kind of either look through all of those reviews and make sure that they respond to each one of them, or to look for any themes. We had one customer, Untuckit, who saw a bunch of 1-star reviews was coming through because their wrinkle-free shirts, customers were complaining that they weren't actually wrinkle-free. And they discovered that the reason was because customers weren't using the correct fabric care. So they flagged all of the reviews that mentioned that particular issue, went through, made sure they responded to each one, and provided fabric care recommendations. So in that way, they were able to turn around customer sentiment as well as educate the customers. I think I have a little time, so I just wanted to flash up one more thing, which is you're seeing what our existing Yotpo widget on the Propel page here. which typically has historically used a lot of like CSS, HTML edits, but we are betaing a new version of our widgets, which is really exciting. We're offering 2 different layouts. So our standard layout is very similar to what we currently offer, but for our customers who have a little more like visually oriented reviews, the bold layout is a grid or a tile format. So much better if you have a lot of reviews coming in that are like photo or video oriented. It really emphasizes the images as well as the positive reviews with bigger text for the 5-star reviews. And it is overall much easier to use in terms of, changing the colors of the fonts, the widget width. All of this is very modular within and much more user-friendly within our new widget editor. So that's definitely something to be on the lookout for in the future. But that is pretty much it for me. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how Yotpo gives you the tools to moderate reviews, collect more high quality reviews, and give buyers the confidence and information that they need to trust your brand and make confident purchases. It also empowers you to reach out to customers at different stages in the customer journey, as well as collect key information that will allow you to create customized and personalized experiences for them via other solutions like loyalty, SMS subscriptions. So I hope this has been helpful, and I'll turn it back to you, Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. So just pivoting to Stephanie, I guess I need to share my screen here. Sorry. Post to Stephanie at Gorgias to talk about the post-purchase support. She's going to outline here in a minute that I forget the exact number. It's like 40 or 50% of typical, they could aggregate data across all their clients and their customers and merchant stores. And that a lot of the about half of the tickets that are coming in are about where is my order, and she's going to show you how you can leverage their very powerful automations to create more efficiencies in solving and quickly answering, using AI to quickly answer and solve those types of tickets, and help. Maybe let's take a different stance at customer service and merge that back into not only supporting them with post-purchase, but also can they be another part of the marketing team? How do we best align them in the marketing team to help drive more revenue for your business through the support process? So with that, I will let Stephanie showcase some of the great features that Gorgias has to offer.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the intro. Let me share my screen. All right. Okay. Yeah, so I'm hoping everyone can see it, but if you can't, let me know. That was a great introduction, Ryan. If you're not familiar with Gorgias, we're an e-commerce help desk. We're omni-channel, so we take tickets from any way that your customers are reaching out to get in touch with you, and we put them all in one place. And I have this screen up right now because we have an amazing integration with Shopify. It takes less than a minute to add, to set it up on your store, so that you can you can perform actions in Gorgias without having to leave the platform. We also play really nicely with all of the other apps in the Shopify ecosystem so that we can really leverage the data that we have to create the best possible experience. I think, customer service, a lot of people think it's just people reaching out with questions or negative, but actually what we want to do is create efficiencies and make it as easy as possible so that you can actually improve your business and have your customer support team be a source of revenue. So the ways that we do that are efficiency. We automate a lot, and I will show you shortly how we do that, and personalization, because that goes a long way. People feeling that they are, that the company knows about them as a customer. So again, this is just, kind of our overview of the integration. And we also have machine learning, which can pick up the intents of messages, the sentiment, so that we can know if it's positive or negative, or if there is an intent to purchase, so you don't miss out on those opportunities. So I'll start with the back end first. This is Gorgias. This is for the Propel store. So what you're looking at are tickets, and we have different views. We can create views kind of based on many different things. Right here we have them sorted by channel because maybe teams want to specifically look at just social comments because we really like to think of this as a tool for more than just customer support teams, but also marketing teams as well. So that, if marketing teams want to reply to a comment left on Instagram or Facebook, they have that opportunity. We also have a native phone, SMS, we connect with social media platforms, email. I apologize, my dog is joining. So that's, you can have the views by channel. We can also have them by status if they're open, closed, snoozed. We can create custom ones if you wanted to have team views, say one view just for your customer support team, and then a view for marketing teams. That's something we can do as well, and very easily create criteria for how, which tickets will route into that view. There's also, different things we can do as far as social questions. I like this one, it's VIP, and I'll show you how this rule works. But we really want to make sure that you're serving your VIP customers so that they are repeating and that they're having a great experience. So we can create rules to automatically tag someone as VIP, and their tickets can go into a view like that we would create, so we can respond to them quickly. And so I will show you a couple of examples. So this is in this ticket. This is someone, saying that they've played. It's me. I've placed I've ordered the wrong size. And what we have over on the right, as I mentioned, we have our Shopify integration on the Propel store. We also have Yotpo, so we can actually see some of those reviews that we just saw from Erica. So we get all the historical information of the customer. So we have the information. We're not having to ask them for it again to create efficiency and give them a really seamless experience, but also enrich this interaction. If there's a loyalty program connected and to your store, you can let them know, hey, you're this many points away from your next discount. If they have a subscription, you can connect to the subscription app, and you can actually pause or cancel or skip their subscription, make any changes. So in this instance, of course, I would reply to the ticket here, asking, what size, so that we can change it. But what's really nice is that teams don't have to be constantly flipping back and forth between different platforms with Gorgias. So instead of having to go to Shopify and change her order there, I actually would have the ability to edit the order in the widget here. So I can actually see all of the products on the store and select which product we'd like to change it to. I could also edit the address. I can cancel orders. I can refund them and see all of the historical information of her orders, so that I know that they've placed quite a few orders. We want to have that information at hand, so we're not asking the customer for it again. A fun fact is that 40% of all tickets are people asking, "Where is my order?" So what we can do here is create macros, which are basically canned responses for our most frequently asked questions, so that it will automatically populate. Anything here in green is actually the data from Shopify. It will populate. I can change this and customize this answer. We do have, the most common macros set up for you already, but you can tailor them to your business, so that if you have certain questions that people are frequently asking, your teams don't have to rewrite the same answer over and over, but it can pull in that data. So I could just have, send this and off it goes, so that it's creating that efficiency, and it's that time can be better spent by customer support teams on those like high touch tickets that require personalization and a lot of attention. So that's a macro, and as I said, we can change them. And another example of a ticket that I just thought I would share is so we have tags, but this is a great example of a review. I think we saw this review on the website via Yotpo a couple minutes ago. So in a situation like this, it's really good for kind of having, pre-sales and converting to a sale where it might not have been a sales opportunity to begin with, because it wasn't a question of, where's my order, or I need to exchange this, but it's actually a review. And so by tagging reviews and also seeing that the sentiment, we know the sentiment is positive because of the machine learning, and that it's VIP, it would be a good opportunity for a potential sale by reaching out and saying, hey, we really appreciate your review. We can offer you a discount on your next order, to just kind of encourage that repeat business and drive revenue from customer support team. So, in a situation like that, we could send it by email, but we could also leave an internal note, if we had a tag manager, to say, hey, can I get approval on this? So that's kind of just generally how tickets work, and like the Shopify integration and actions. But I'd like to show you rules as well. So we can create rules for different things, and for like positive or negative, or it can perform actions. So again, automating a lot of this work. So for potential customers, we can create tags. If what this rule is saying, I can walk you through it, is that if there's if the message from an agent and the order count is 0, but the message has a product question or recommendation, we can tag them as a potential customer so that we can follow through on that opportunity and create sales. So we also want, we also want to have any social questions. I think especially for marketing teams, there's a lot of lost opportunities because if you're getting tons and tons of comments on your social media, it's really hard to respond to all of them, I'm sure, especially if you're not sure if it's just a comment or if there's an intent to purchase. But we also want to make sure that we're answering questions that maybe someone has a question, they're not sure exactly which product is right for them. We want to make sure that we receive that information, it gets pulled into Gorgias, and that we can convert that. We also can tag positive comments because the machine learning will pick those up, and negative ones as well, so that you don't have any negative comments out there, and that you can quickly resolve them. And you do have the ability to hide comments, reply to them, reply in a direct message, and things like that from Gorgias. So this is what this rule is it's a social rule. So it's basically saying that if the channel is social and by any means, and anyone's asking a question, who, what, when, where, why, and it's not negative, but the sentiment of it is not negative. And they also have one of these words, or like, amazing, if they're talking really positively about your brand. We can also customize this completely if there's certain things. Then we can tag it as like a positive sentiment and it's urgent so that it gets replied to, and any of their pre-sale questions that might have prevented them from already making the purchase can be sorted out and get them to convert. This is one of our most common rules. Like I said, about 40% of all tickets are people asking, where is my order? And because of our great Shopify integration, what we can actually do is if someone reaches out, and I already showed you the macro, but we can create a rule that if someone asks where their order is, it will answer with that macro and close the ticket. So again, just creating more efficiency for teams so that they can focus on, kind of the higher touch or, more personal tickets that require their attention. Another thing that I think we really like to encourage our people using Gorgias to do is to actually use it to create a feedback loop or to learn about your business. So for example, we can highlight business issues because we can see what questions based on tags, we can actually track how often the same questions being asked over and over, because maybe there's a messaging problem. Or an example that I heard recently was someone had a salsa company and their biggest complaint was that the jars arrived broken. So it actually highlighted to them that they had a packaging issue So they were able to improve their business by the feedback that they got. Another thing that we like to do is, like I said, getting that product, the feedback loop for product launches. Olipop, so it's a merchant that uses Gorgias. They, via Gorgias, asked for, feedback on a new flavor, and so many people wanted this orange crush flavor that that was the flavor that they decided to launch, and they reached out to everyone, and they sold $30,000 worth of that new product when it launched in the first 30 minutes because they knew that was popular and there was a need for it. So as far as self-service, 2 out of 3 people will try to self-serve before they reach out to an agent. And again, creating that efficiency so that these teams can be sources of revenue and focus on other things and bringing in business and converting potential sales. So we have a couple of different ways we can do that. So we have our chat widget, of course. So these can be customized. So if there's a particular question that you have that people are frequently asking, maybe it's about sizing or returns, we can have all of that there. These can be changed. And we also have the option to give customers the ability to serve themselves so they can just get things done quickly. So again, we can track an order, return, cancel, and all of these chats will come into Gorgias and we can answer them. And this is what it looks like on the site. So because tracking orders obviously can be time consuming, but if customers can do it themselves, it's freeing up time. And we also have our order management flows. So again, kind of if they wanted to manage their order, there's like a form of action that's associated with it. We also have a help center, so we can put, an option for putting your most frequently asked questions and links to articles so that customers can find them quickly and easily and not have to reach out if it's information that they can find themselves. And I think a big thing that we talk about is response time. I think people have grown very impatient, and I think Amazon and the very quick availability. I believe their average response time from customer support agents is less than 10 minutes. But I think we very much now live in a world of I want it now or I need an answer now. So offering that opportunity to self-serve is really great because I know that if someone has a question and they're not sure if your product is right, if they can't figure it out, they will just move on. So being able to self-serve, but also have a fast response time from your team is very important. And so we have a lot of data that we can look at. We can look at like by agent, we can see how much revenue they've driven. We can see those intents, we can pick them up. So kind of see generally how tickets are, or if people are mostly happy or what the issue that they're reaching out about. And maybe it's positive that we can, that we can track that. So if, like I said, if people are asking the same question over and over, we can find that out and maybe improve the messaging, but also learn about the business. And should I go over? So we can see you can search by agent or by channel if people are mostly reaching out on social media or email, just being aware of what channels people are reaching out on so that you can properly answer them. You can also, like I said, assign different channels to different teams. So if you wanted the marketing team to answer all social media comments, we can set up like permissions and rules for that as well and different views. All right. Oh yeah. And again, this is where we can see the revenue driven specifically by customer support teams and what tickets converted. So we know, what kind of questions and what agents are also helping get those tickets converted. Another really interesting thing we can do as far as chat to kind of negate any like pre-sale like concerns is what we call chat campaigns. So a chat campaign can live on your if you have. So how a chat campaign would work is this would not show up necessarily. But if someone's lingering on your product detail page for a certain amount of time, and we can change that, we can adjust how long you want it to be and what the message is, a chat can pop up with a live agent on the other end saying, what can I help you with today? And if, we do find, there was an example of OG, it's a cosmetics company. They did this, and I know for me personally, it's really hard to buy makeup online because I have very, very fair skin and very dark hair, so I never know the colors. And so people were just lingering on the page, not making a purchase because they weren't sure what product was right for them. So by proactively reaching out to the customers with that campaign, they were able to help them, and those converted to much higher sales. So unless there are any questions, I think I have gone over most things. But yeah, I think that's it for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephanie. So it's Shopify game time, guys. Our tailgate must come to an end. We just have a few minutes left before our time runs out. So what I'd like to do is open it up for any questions to our speakers at this time. If anyone would like to, we've got our chat and our Q&A section that you guys can use. And this is for anyone. This could be for Todd, for Ryan. See, I got one coming in here. Okay, so question to the partners. Can you briefly discuss, hopefully a minute or less, about your integration with Shopify? I think personally, I see the validity of this question, being from a Magento background. How quickly can you integrate? Like, what does a client need to do when they say, yep, I'm ready to go with the Gorgias or Yotpo or Searchspring? What would they need to do? Thomas, you want to go first?
So
I was about to say,
I was going to say, do you want me
to?
to just answer collectively, I guess, since there's 4 different integrations? I'll go first.
Okay.
The general integrations on these are pretty, I would say, straightforward. Like the partner network on and Shopify, as you saw, like all of these tools have integrations to each other. That's part of why we have them as part of our framework. There's always like an easy and then a more custom or complex implementation. So if you want it to, if you want to just have the little pop-up of Gorgias in the corner, like let's just say it's you can get up and running on Yotpo and Gorgias in, let's say, half a day, and getting the configuration and things. Like, it's not a very code intensive thing. On the Searchspring side of the house, like, part of the reason we've integrated into the Propel framework is that a lot of the more custom functionality and features you want, it does take a little bit of effort on the dev side to get that up and running. Thomas can attest to that. They have devs internally too that they kind of have like white label service as well for implementing this for teams. But we've done our best to help limit and create efficiencies in getting these up and running. And if your brand wants to be super custom, like with anything, we can always do customizations above and beyond what those base sort of easier implementation approaches are for more customizations, whether it's color, font, but we can go as far as even changing the overall entire look and feel. So the Searchspring is a great example where, you could spend 100 hours of development if you wanted to, completely customizing how your PLPs, product cards, and things, wanted to look like. But there's also lighter versions of that. So that's my kind of overarching, I guess, answer on that. I don't know if any of you have.
Yeah, I was going to say, not to sell CQL too much, but it's a lot easier when you're working with a CQL to get that type of stuff sorted. Searchspring is, I'll speak to Searchspring because that's what I'm here for. It's custom integrated on the front end in the fact that it should be brand matched. That's why Ryan said it's part of the Propel theme, but can be customized and tweaked to your brand, to your vertical. Another key point is that Searchspring, while we go over all of those abilities to set merchandising logic and rules and things like that, that's where the Searchspring product experts come in. You do get a human being, customer success rep that works with you on onboarding, training, make sure it's actually it's ready to go live when it goes live. It's integrated now. We optimize. It's already optimized when you go live, and that's why you can rely on our teams to help you with that stuff as well.
If I can add to that too, and I consider Yeah, I can share, but I don't have my screen, but I don't need to. As far as kind of getting set up with the integrations on Gorgias, it takes less than 1 minute to connect to your Shopify store. And we have a full library within the platform of all the other apps that integrate with it. And it tells you what the app does and how to connect it. It's fairly easy. But that said, they're great partners like CQL are able to help with some of those things around like creating specific rules. Like if you did want to have certain rules around social media, and if it's a positive sentiment or negative, or making sure you're not missing questions or any kind of those canned responses, but also any custom work of if there's some tool that you have that doesn't integrate natively with Gorgias.
Excellent. All right, I have one more question here that's come through. If we wanted to work with multiple partners, do we need to contact you all individually? Ryan, sell it, man.
Yes and no. I would say one of the things that we're trying very hard, and it's always an ongoing process, but one of the things that Mary and myself try really hard to do is just keep fostering these relationships and finding key vendors to do things. Like obviously, there's a good amount of people on the call. Like you may already be, we're all friends here. You might already have a search tool that you're completely happy with. You might have a review engine that you like, and you're not looking to like. So like there's going to be a lot of vendors. There's going to be a lot of tools and things that are going to be a part of the equation on any enterprise build, and that's just nature of the game. What we try really hard to do is streamline that process as much as possible. So if we're lucky, if you are a client coming to us and we're lucky enough to work with you, like I have everyone on this call basically on speed dial. And what we try to do is basically package up everything as easy as we can to say, this is your price for each things. There's a couple data points we need to get that information, but we try to do most of the legwork for you. But also if you're vetting a new tool, you're probably going to want to sit in a demo with, let's say, Searchspring and look at how that works and vet it yourself. So I guess the short answer is yes, you do have to talk to all of them, but everyone on this call wants to make that as easy as possible. And CQL is continuing to have some conversations on how we can even make it even more streamlined than we've kind of already gotten it over the next quarter or two to make it so you don't have to talk to 12 different people if that's how many different platforms and things that you're evaluating, to make it even more streamlined and make it easy to get onboarded and trained up.
Excellent. All right, so I want to extend a special thank you. We are at time here. Special thank you to all of our speakers today. Thomas, Erica, Stephanie, Ryan, and Todd. We couldn't have done this without you guys. So thank you for helping us host our big Tailgate event. And on behalf of everyone at CQL, Shopify, Searchspring, Yotpo, and Gorgias, we thank you, our biggest fans, for joining us for this exclusive event today. We hope this gave you some great insight into the benefits of Shopify and how the powerhouse of these applications can enhance your customer journey and optimize your online growth. We will be sending you a follow-up with a recording of today's Tailgate. You're welcome to share it with your teams and invite others to watch the on-demand version. Let's all hope Shopify can bring us all a big win. And thanks again. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.